This video is about the ability to challenge your perceptions and how that ultimately helps you to live a happier life. So start with a story. I think I was like 12 years old at this point, and I was with one of my good friends, and we were going out on a canoe. And we got to the lake, and now it was much choppier than usual. There are actual white caps out there, which is almost never the case at this lake. And I think it was like the first day you could legally go out on a boat. So it was still freezing cold outside. And the water, of course, freezing cold. We saw those waves, and then my friend's dad saw the waves, and he was like, yeah, go ahead. So we get out there, and being very responsible, though, we had 2 life jackets in the boat with us. But notice how I say we had them in the boat with us, not on us. In fact, they were, if you imagine the seat of a canoe, it's like a bench style seat. They were wrapped around and buckled onto the seat, almost as if the canoe would need the life jackets if something happened to prevent the canoe from drowning. So we're out there, right? We're kind of paddling along. It's also a really good dance move if you're ever in need for one of those. So we're out there, and all of a sudden, boom, hit the water. It's freezing cold, and it just shocks you. If you've ever done like a cold plunge or taken a cold shower, had that, it just shocks your whole body. So I start freaking out, kind of panicking. I grab onto the boat, and I'm kind of just treading water, but hanging onto the boat, just freaking out. Like, what are we going to do? And about 150 yards, 100 yards away, 100, yeah, probably 150, 200, there's this guy, fisherman out there. And so I'm waving to him, waving, hey, hey, hey. And he finally kind of looks over and waves back. So I'm like, no. I'm like, hey, come over, come over, come over. So he kind of looks at us and says, come over. And I'm like, no, like pointing to the boat, like, you flip the boat, flip the boat. And he just kind of points and he's like, flip the boat. So it was a disaster. So finally, he motors over, pulls up right next to us, sort of sighs, puts on his big coverall, overall waders, jumps out of his boat, lands on his feet. The water's about up to here. He walks over, flips over our boat, and says, okay, hey, stand up, get in your boat. And he goes on his way. It's a pretty good story. But the idea here is that in that kind of stress or that panic or that intense anxiety and emotion, I never even thought to question how deep is the water. I never even questioned my own perceptions. And I believe that story illustrates something powerful about the human experience, that we have these thoughts and emotions, these mental patterns and beliefs about reality. But the thing is, all of these perceptions are not reality. That's right. That is an incredibly important lesson that comes from both, if you look at contemplative sciences and contemplative traditions such as Buddhist meditation, Taoist meditation, but also now modern psychological sciences such as cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the most effective sets of tools to help people cope with anxiety, depression, etc. Both of these kind of traditions, the arts and the sciences, emphasize this key insight. Thoughts are not reality. Emotions are not reality. They are responses to something in reality, but perceptions are not reality. And so ultimately, this is an incredibly practical ability to be able to say, am I sure? Am I sure of my perceptions? Am I sure of my perceptions? And if you ask that, especially when you're experiencing difficult thoughts and emotions or challenges, often you'll find that the water is not as deep as you think, and that you are bigger than the thoughts and emotions you're experiencing. And of course, that's going to help you cope and be much happier. So that's a short little life lesson there, a life story. So of course, check out my channel for more practical tools and insights to help you live a happier life. But that's all for now. So thank you for studying happiness with me. This is your happiness nerd, Jackson Kirchis.